What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Scarfe Spurs Talk podcast. In today's episode, we'll be reviewing that Manchester City defeat and previewing AZ Alkmaar, that first leg of the round of 16 in the Europa League. It's a big one, and it starts away from home, the first leg. So we will be previewing that game as well. So do stay tuned. If you're listening on a podcast platform, don't forget to drop us a follow and a 5-star review. If you're listening live on YouTube, please do smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, and do get involved. As always, shout out to our sponsor, the Kitman, once again, and let's go through and introduce tonight's amazing panel. Firstly, Simon Yemane, welcome back onto the podcast. Becoming a bit of a regular now, I'm glad to say. How have you been doing?
I'm good. I need to go to the barber, but other than that, I'm fabulous.
Love it. Thank you very much for coming on once again. Nige, welcome back. It's been a little while. How you been doing?
Good, mate. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Nice intro. It's the first time I've seen the intro. Usually I catch your show like 10 minutes in. So, yeah, that was good. Yeah, and big up, chaps. Hope everyone's well.
Yeah, it's a new one. Thank you very much for coming on, Nige. It's great to have you on. Talking of having been a while, Jordan, it has also been a while for you, but always great to have you on. How have you been doing, mate?
Yeah, man, it's my pleasure. It's been a very long time since I come on, but yeah, good to be back. Good to. I was gonna say good that we came here on a win, but it wasn't a win. It was so long ago. The City game. It feels like an ages away, but hey, hopefully this week, innit?
Hopefully, I wish it was a win though. But thank you very much for coming on, and we should have Billie T joining us in just a few minutes' time as well. So do stick around for that one. But yeah, let's crack straight into it. Before we get on to reviewing City, previewing AZ Alkmaar, there's been a bit of Spurs news. It's been discussed a lot recently. It's to do with Christian Romero, of course, with him being called up for Argentina to represent them in the next international break. So I've got a little piece here from Matt Law, because obviously we know he is fairly reliable. He said that Tottenham gave Argentina the green light to call up Christian Romero for the upcoming international break after discussions took place over how Romero was progressing in his recovery from injury. Romero is now in the running to be in the Spurs squad for the match on Thursday against AZ Alkmaar. So, Simon, I'll kick it off with you because I've seen on social media how you feel about this one. So, people who don't know, how do you feel about this? Are fans creating a bit of a issue here where maybe there isn't one?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like we have a habit on these social media platforms to kind of make an issue out of stuff that's not really an issue. First and foremost, I think it's up to the club in a situation like this to make an assessment and to clarify towards the FA of the country the country if the player is available. And in this case, they clearly felt like if he plays in these games that are coming up and he's healthy and willing, he should be able to go and play for his country. I don't actually think people have an issue with it. I think, or I'll put it like this: I think people have an issue with it. If people have an issue with it, I think it depends a lot of how they view Romero. Like, I think if you're a Romero skeptic, you'll probably be annoyed and you probably put this in the against column and use it as an excuse to pile on. I'm not. I think it's perfectly valid for a player to play for his country if he's healthy and available, no matter how much he's played for the club in that season. And he's a grown man. It's up to him to make a decision if he's healthy again. I don't see the issue, actually.
Yeah, no, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I saw that's what you put on social media. So I appreciate you giving us your thoughts on that one. Nige, how do you feel about this? Do you have a problem with Romero going away, representing Argentina on international duty?
I'm slightly on the other side of the fence with this, just because we haven't seen this guy for months. He's in our leadership group. He's supposed to be one of our top players. And fine, he's been injured. I get that. But he always seems to be fit when Argentina come calling. Always, regardless. And I'm just a little frustrated by it. I think I'd understand if he had played 2 or 3 games for Spurs and then Argentina called him up, but we haven't seen him. We keep getting told, "Oh, we're going careful with him," but let's see him play for Spurs first. And he may play during the week, but for me, it just stinks a bit, in my opinion.
No, fair enough. A lot of people will feel that way, to be honest with you. I think the majority of Spurs fans, especially on social media, will feel like that. Jordan, to bring you in on this discussion, how do you feel? Romero going away with Argentina, do you feel the way maybe the Nige does in terms of it always does seem to be he goes away with Argentina?
It's one of those ones where I think the timing just comes at a bad time. Romero was due back with us anyway, and I feel like let's be honest, the games aren't even. He's gonna have potentially three games in the Spurs shirt before the international game. So for me, the only issue would arise if he doesn't take place or has minimal involvement in those games, and then he goes to Argentina and plays 90 minutes. That's where I would have a problem, because then there's a clear, lack of faith towards Tottenham, or a lack of trying, or something's going on. But at this moment in time, it's one of those ones. Like, he was always going to get called up. He's their number one defender. If he's available, Argentina are going to push for him to go. And also, for any Argentinian or most South Americans, they will tell you that they are country before club. That's naturally how they are as people. So if he has the opportunity to play for them, as much as Spurs have to give the green light, he can, as a player, tell Spurs, I am going international break. And they will be forced to do it, because you don't want to have a problem with one of your star players. Already, we know what's been going on behind the scenes, that he's obviously not happy with the board already. So you don't need to give him more fuel to the fire by not letting him go international duty. And people are also not considering Lisandro Martinez is out currently. That's their only other main centre-back. So when you have no Martinez and potentially no Romero, that's a different team for them. They don't even want to go with that risk. So I feel like even if Romero does play one game, they're going to take that chance, and he's gonna play for them.
And let's just clarify a couple of just factual points. And I think George touched on it. First, he's just been called up. So the country asked the club if it's reasonable for them to call them, like if there's a chance. And they just allowed Argentina to call him up. It doesn't mean that he's going to go. And that's why I put that contingent on, which is something that George touched on. If he plays, if he's healthy at the end of these three games, and there's no reason to hold him back. If he's not, if there's question marks, if he hasn't played enough, of course he's not going to go, and probably they'll have a discussion around it. So I'm just talking about the contingency of, if he plays, if he's healthy, I don't see a reason to be annoyed about him going. If it's like Nigel puts out, or Nigel touches on, if he doesn't play, if we haven't seen him, and they still allow him to go away, then obviously that's just bad management.
Yeah, and the caveat I will say to that is that obviously if he does go away and gets minutes, that's only going to help us. So, if we can get as much fitness minutes out of Argentina, then fine.
Yeah, 100%. Nice discussion, everyone there. So thank you very much to all of you. We'll move on now to reviewing that Manchester City defeat. Jordan, I'll kick it off with you, if you don't mind. What are your thoughts, on that defeat, looking back now? Maybe now the dust has settled, had a few days. Obviously, you haven't played since then. At the moment, we're just one game a week. That will change next week, or this week, should I say. So what are you, kind of feeling, looking back on it now? Is it one of regret? Did we deserve something?
Yeah, no, to be fair, for me, it's one of those ones where I expected us not to pick up not to win. I expected us not to go 4 games in a row. We just haven't done it underhand for 18, 19 months. So as much as you can ignore stats and facts with Tottenham, you can't. Like, when there's a stat and it's been put in place for a long time, it's for a reason. Spurs weren't going to get 4 wins in a row. Also, I looked at it that Manchester City had needed a win. They was in a position where they'd got battered by Real Madrid, they'd got touched by Liverpool, and they didn't have a good run. That Tottenham game was one where not really is going to get much, for the fans wise, or they're not going to get up for it. But it's one of those games where, especially for Pep, he's gonna want to get something from that one. He hates traveling the Tottenham game, and to be fair, the first half, give it to them. They played a good first half. Could have had a couple goals. I think defensively, I was happy with some of the changes that Ange made, but also it's very obvious things. And for me, the thing is with Ange is he makes some silly mistakes that ends up costing us the game, and that's starting Porro. I mean, many people would have said prior to the game, we can all acknowledge that Jed Spence played a lot of minutes over these past couple months, and probably does need a rest. But with him being factually our best player, he's had man of the match after man of the match after man of the match. You can't drop a player like that when you're going up against a winger like Doku. Jed Spence went as far as to comment on Doku's post because he wanted to go up against him that much. Like he relishes the challenge against best players. So I was looking forward to it, and I felt like if we did start off with Jed Spence and Udogie on the left, you would have had two players that liked the 1v1 challenge. Although Udogie probably I'd say Savio had the better of him. I still think that in those moments where you need ruthless, you need someone that's a bit more aggressive, they're going to press a bit more. You need those. You could start them together. Pedro Porro, he caused us a lot of problems in the first half, and we were lucky to walk away with one goal. But yeah, the game planned out how many would have expected. We had a lot of players coming back, a lot of young players starting, a new front line in Tell, Johnson, and Odebert, and it was nice to see. I think a lot of people do need to get off Tell's back, though. I've seen all the discourse over the last week about Tell and saying he's a flop, he's not ready, and all these things. And it's just like, hey, he's a 19-year-old kid. He's only played 4 or 5 games in a Spurs shirt, and let's have it right. All those games he played are huge games against big teams. He played Villa away. He played Man United. He played
Threw him
Liverpool.
in the deep end.
He literally straight in the deep end, and he's starting all these games. And I feel like a lot of the discourse is just, it's over exaggerated. I feel like it's a lot of people trying to point score really early and get I said Tell was rubbish as soon as he came in type of thing. It's all very disingenuous. And again, with a player like him, you just need the manager to work with him a little bit more to adapt, to learn what's the best play style for him. And over time that will come. But just at the moment, it's one of those ones. You got to give him some time, man. I think Tell will come out 100%. On a better side soon enough.
Yeah, I feel the same way as you. Thank you very much, Jordan. Nige, I'm going to bring you in on this, and I want to keep this topic on Tell. How have you, what you made of his start to life in a Spurs shirt? Do you agree with Jordan in terms of fans jumping on the bandwagon almost?
Yes, in a way. I think it's difficult for him because he is a kid, 19 years old. I don't think he's a striker. But I think a lot of fans just look at the fact he come from Bayern Munich and just assume this he must be really good. And we forget that he is a kid and he is still learning. But at the same time, we want results. We need results. So when he's put up front, we're expecting more. For me, he's done okay, but I just don't think he's a striker. I think he's another inside forward, which we seem to have a lot of. I think for me, that's where the transfer window fell short. I think we've got so many players in a couple of positions, but not enough in others. But yeah, for me, Towers, early days. Let's see how he does. I'm just not sure he's going to be here next season. So I find it hard to get on board with him at the moment.
That's interesting to hear, actually. So you don't think it'll be made permanent? Okay. Thank you very much. Simon, I'll bring you in on this one. Tell, how do you feel about him and his start to life at Spurs?
I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, I just want to back up a little bit because I think both these guys touched on a couple of things that I feel are interesting and kind of speak to what we're supposed to focus on and the oddness of this season. I think it's odd to have had a season like this with these many injuries and this bad a season in the league while still being the favorites in the cup coming up. With so all those three things make this season wholly unique, right? And so if you back up, while I totally agree with Jordan in his analysis on the game towards Porro starting versus Spence, I was one of those people who have been very. I was very vocal about wanting Spence, Son, and Kulusevski to be rested, and so I got a lot of pushback on that. And people thought I was crazy, but people have to remember my focus is just on Europe. I don't actually think we can get a lot out from the season, and I think while it's odd for a club of our size to realize that and to kind of deal with that reality. If you actually just look at it with just a cold analytical heart, what we have to do is to make sure that we're as healthy as possible going into this end part of the season where we can get both European play and actually have a chance to win the European Cup. And so to me, it was less about us having 7 days to rest after that City game, and it was more about the fact that Kulusevski, Son, Spence had played so many games and had so many minutes in their legs, and they played on the Saturday, and that game was on the Wednesday. So just the fact that it was 4 days between those games, and us not really having to win that game, and we want to win every game, but we could afford to rotate. And I felt like it's one of those things where we as fans, we moan when he doesn't rotate, and then we moan when he does rotate because we don't have the squad to rotate and have an equally qualitative lineup out there. So I like that he made that priority. And on Tell, listen, he's 19 years old. He hasn't played a lot of minutes this season. The Premier League is, the step up from the Bundesliga, just in physicality and speed, is so huge. All those things together with his age makes it a tough, and also how we play. The fact that we require our striker to run that much, to come deep and receive with a defender in his back.
And he's coming to a difficult moment as well, struggling side.
A moment when the team isn't really firing the way it has, or firing consistently. So it's such a tough task that we're giving him, and he's played so many minutes. I'd rather focus on the things that he does well and how he does fit in.
Yeah.
And to me, just his attitude, is willing to run, is willing to work hard. And also, I've watched him a lot, being interested in Bundesliga and watching Bayern. So I know he's got the quality if he's played in the right position. And I agree with Nige in the fact that he's probably best suited playing on the left. But he's doing a job at striker that nobody else can really do at that with that quality. And I'd rather focus on what he can be rather than what he is right now. So I think it's just silliness. It's just social media nonsense. We're bored. We need something to moan about, and so he's an obvious scapegoat. And also, I think we have this thing that are expensive, that we kind of put them up in this. We have these really, high expectations of what they need to be for it.
We take it out on the player. You're better to take it out on either the player. We could take it out on his previous club for selling for that much, or
and it's almost like we as fans
paying that much.
It's almost like us fans, we know that we don't usually pay that much for players. So when we do pay for that,
it's the same with Solanke, isn't it?
Yeah,
even Spurs fans, it's he's nothing, all this money. Well, no, if you actually watch Spurs, it's more than just goals. It's all round goal, contribution.
Yeah, I just think it's a thing we have as a fan base, that we're traumatized by the likes of Ndombele and us wasting all that money on him. And then when we pay for Johnson or Solanke, we want them to fire right away because I think we're kind of afraid that we won't buy another player for that much money again if they don't work out. It's something that's psychologically that goes on with this fan base when it comes to that stuff.
Also, so used to having Harry Kane up front, who's arguably the best striker in the world, and anyone who comes in after Kane is going to have a really difficult job to even come close to what he does.
Yeah, and I think Tell probably suffers from a little bit of that too. We've seen the best striker in the world for a decade at our club, so we have an expectation, and we're used to a certain degree of quality at that position.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you. Nice. Do you think Ange made too many changes in this game, or did he need to rotate? Did he need to rest?
I'm a lot like Si. I don't think it matters. I think we're at the point in the league, we're not going down. We're probably not going to break the top 10. So for me, it's all about Europe now. We have to win a European trophy. So I was disappointed he didn't play Spence because I know he's played a lot of minutes, but 9 games isn't that much really compared to other players. Porro have been playing a lot more.
It's not
So I
when you
was
haven't played
disappointed.
hardly all season, I
Yeah,
suppose.
no, I get that, but he's young and it's not like, he's playing that much. For me, I would have played him still, but I'm not the manager,
But
am I?
not
I
to
didn't
jump
have a
in,
problem with Sonny or
yeah,
Kulusevski, to be honest.
and not to jump in again, but to both you guys' point, if Spence is that important, he just can't get injured, right? It's so important to protect him. So it kind of goes both ways, right? You want him to play because it's one of our best player this season, but if he gets injured, we're properly fucked, right? In Europe, so it can't
Yeah,
happen.
but to play devil's advocate, and by the way, just to be clear, I totally agree with all of you that for me the
Yeah.
priority is Europa League this year, and I don't have a major problem with what Ange's done. But to play devil's advocate, what the other people that hold that other view would be saying is that there was 8 days until our next game. Well, why did you do that against Ipswich when the fixture schedule was tighter?
Yeah, but
Why
there
take
were
that
4
risk?
games between. So I think that's the part that people
Well, yeah,
forget.
that's why you. Yeah, but that's why you rested for Ipswich, and then they're okay for City 4 days later,
Also, I'd
maybe.
arguably say that maybe Ange thought we got a better chance of beating Ipswich than we have a City even with a 14. So let's just
Yeah,
win the
exactly.
Ipswich
Yeah, it
game.
can work that way. Yeah, I just thought I'd put it out there. No, thank you very much. Jordan, I'll come to you. I want to talk about Solanke. Do you think I mean, obviously, we've spoken about Tao, and I totally agree with you as well. We need to be patient with him. But did you feel we missed Solanke in this game, missed that vocal point, that clinicalness?
I think we missed Solanke just as a whole to our build-up play. I think maybe in and around the actual final third, we don't miss Solanke because just the way that Spurs play, we don't create for a striker. So when we're not seeing Tel on the ball in the final third, it's not a surprise. We don't see Solanke on the ball, or we don't actually fashion a lot of chances for Solanke when he's here. When all of Solanke's goals have been sort of deflections or him just finding himself in the right position because he's a smart Premier League striker. Over years, he was a young striker that didn't score for many years. And then he learned how to find himself and be so good outside of scoring that he pulls himself into the game even when you've not got him to. So I feel like Solanke, what we miss from him, which has been huge, is dropping into the hole in between the two defenders, doing the hold-up play, doing the give and go. And that's what we needed against City. And even against, when you take it a game back to when Tell was playing against Ipswich, I feel like in the first half and sort of for a lot of that game, he struggled because you've got big, strong defenders up against him who are going into his back. Naturally, you're going to put an arm in. Tell's a small guy. He can only do so much. Solanke, he's different. He can pull it in. He can play it from his chest. He can flick it on with a header. He's a lot more smarter. So we've definitely missed Solanke's presence. And I think with him coming back in that next game, whether it's Alkmaar or whether it's Bournemouth on the weekend, I'd say whichever game it is, Solanke's one player that I don't want to risk coming back early before picking up another injury. So when you go to what Simon says, like we can't afford to, as much as Europe is our main trophy, we can't afford to have another injury in a key area because we don't cover for a player like Solanke. So I think we do need to we need to minimize the risk with playing him. So if it means he only gets 20 minutes in that game to save him for the Premier League and then the home leg against Alkmaar he can start, that's what I would go with. So Solanke's been a huge miss. Can't wait for him to come back, but we just need to be steady with his return because what was it? A knee injury as well. I think it was they're like you can easily pick up another knee injury again. Like you don't want to aggravate it.
Can I add something here? Because I think it's important. We talk a lot about how much more healthy we are, but the fact of the matter is that we missed 6 starters against City.
Yeah.
So, like, we're not there yet. So we still have like work to do to make sure that we don't add to that issue. Because if you think Kulusevski is a starter, Son is a starter, Spence is a starter, Romero is a starter, Van der Ven is a starter, and so we're not totally there. And so I totally agree with Jordan here. Like, even if it means resting some of these players in the first game against AZ, and I think we'll get to that preview, but I'll do it because it is we do face them at home, and we have that Bournemouth game to kind of face people in.
Okay, thank you very much. No, Jimmy, we have massively missed Solanke, haven't we? What have we missed most, do you think, out of what Solanke brings to this side?
I think for me, probably his hold up play, the fact that he brings other players into the game. that for me is, I think, what we've missed the most. Tao isn't that sort of player. He hasn't got the strength yet. But I, like George says, and like Sai says, I wouldn't be playing him. I wouldn't be risking him against Alkmaar. I probably wouldn't even start him against Bournemouth. I'd probably maybe have him on the bench if he's back, give him some minutes towards the end, and just save him for the Alkmaar second leg.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm totally with you. You don't want to rush him back, as like Simon say, and him get injured. It'd just be an absolute disaster, I think. But the next individual I want to focus on is James Maddison, and I will stick with you, Nige. Actually, what have you thought of his performances since coming back into the side? He wasn't out for that long, but he still was out. Would you say that he's back to his best or close to it?
I love Maddison. I think for me, he's the player we should be building a side around. I find it really confusing and frustrating why he's been left out so many times. Yeah, for me, he's our most influential player. He's the one who creates the most. And I know he frustrates fans with the fact that he likes to twist and turn. But I think for me, that's because he's looking for openings and he's looking for runs and he doesn't get them. So yeah, I'm pleased that he's back. Wasn't surprised that he didn't play against City. But yeah, looking forward to seeing him Thursday night.
Yeah, 100%. Jordan, what have you made of Maddison recently? Do you think he's been key to get back to winning ways?
Yeah, I think Maddison's had some good performances. Since he's returned from his injury. I feel like he's one of those players that, I suppose, with Maddison, as much as he's had good performances, the questions have always been, can he do it across the 90 minutes for me? Because I feel like he can have good games, but he's good for 45 minutes and then disappears for the other 45 minutes. And for a player in his position, because majority of the time he's playing in more of the 8 than he is the 10, you need someone that's going to impact the game across 90 minutes and is constantly sort of controlling the game. I feel like that's one bit where I'd like to see a bit more improvement from him. But as of recently, I feel like he's been good. He's impacting really well. I feel like one bit that's really helped him is having the likes of Odegaard on the wing and sort of maybe Jed Spence or Udogie on the left back, because then he's actually got players that like the ball to feet, players that he can link up well with. Because when you had Son out there, or I suppose Son not so much, because Sonny still has good link-up play at times, but because he can't beat his man, it does give you a limited option, especially with playing the ball in behind. And he's lost a step of pace. With Odegaard, though, you even saw, I feel like, for the goal, what Jed Spence did store, there was just that little link-up, and they're happy to do little triangles on the edge of the box. And I feel like Maddison will thrive with having better players back. And that's when you'll start to see the better side of him. But for many of the season and most of his Spurs career, the questions have been, can he do it across 90 minutes?
It's been the same with Basuma, I think, as well. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you on a consistent basis. But you mentioned Odegaard there, Jordan. What did you make of him in this game? So he's just come back. I don't think it'd be right to necessarily judge him straight away, but did he show signs that give you some encouragement?
Yeah, some real signs of encouragement. I think the first half in particular was a bit slow, but it was always natural. First start, you just come back rusty. It's been about 6 months since he's playing, so he just needs to build up that confidence. But in the second half, you saw he's willing to take on his man. I feel like from the first moment in that first, I think he started against Everton, might have been the first game. It was always one thing that was clear for me is, for one, Ange trusts him. Ange has a lot of faith in Odegaard, but also that Odegaard is one player that he's always going to run at his man. Like Doku, Savio, like these types of wingers, they're my types of players. They just get you off your feet because they want to run at their man. They want to try and get to the back post or get to the byline and cut it back across. So he had some really good moments, some promising ones as well. But it's one of those ones. Again, he's a young player, so he's going to need time to build up. And most importantly, I feel like with Odegaard you're not gonna see the best of him this season. You're gonna see the best of him even next year and years to come. So he's one that you just need to see, sort of bide your time with, be impressed with the little moments that you can, and then let him build up over time, because he'll cook just eventually.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you very much. Welcome onto the podcast, Billie T. How you doing, my friend?
Hey guys, how's it going?
All good. Are you all right?
Yeah, all good, thank you. All good. Good to be back.
Looks like you're in a jail cell.
May as well be. I'm in Essex,
Oh,
so
it sounds like it too. There's some
may as
echo
well be.
there.
Oh, let me see.
Love
Yeah,
it.
may as well be in jail.
Oh,
Thank you very much
what I
for
like.
coming on,
Right.
Billy.
No, it's good now.
I'll throw
Hopefully,
you
that's
straight
that
into
sort
it.
of the echo. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. No, that's all good. Thank you very much, as I said, for joining us this evening, because I know how busy you are. But I'll throw you straight into it, Billy, because we're talking about Man City, that defeat. How do you view it now, looking back? Do we deserve something from it? Any, you think you take from the game, good or bad?
Yeah, I think we probably deserve something in the 90 minutes. I thought they were by far the better team in the first half. We were the better team in the second. It's not something which I'm particularly looking back on being like, oh, devastated about, because as I'm sure you guys have already said, my focus is on Europa League. But yeah, I'm one of those games. I think the second half showed that we can certainly compete with Man City at the moment, and if we'd had a full team, we might have even been able to win that game. But it's not a particularly sore subject for me. I'm sort of looking on it as hopefully some well-rested players ready for the big one on Thursday.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. And that's what the panel was saying before you were coming on as well, Billy. It's about the Europa League. That's why I didn't have a problem with Andrew rotating and resting, etc. So thank you for that. Simon, I come to you. Do you think
Yes, sir.
the younger players in this game can hold their heads high? I'm looking at Bergval, Spence, Gray. Can they be encouraged in their own personal performance against City, despite the result?
Not only City, I'm guessing I'm not the only one who's found hope in our young players this season. I think that's been the thing that you've been able to really hold on to, like the quality and seeing them grow. And I said this about Bergvall. I'm Swedish, so I've watched him a lot, and I'm always going to be a little bit harsher on him. Like, I don't feel like I need to hype him. I love him so deeply. His our national hope. But like these last 3-4 games, I've really seen him actually look like himself. Like, it's always odd, like in Allsvenskan, which is the Swedish league, he's always looked so much better and stronger and faster than anyone else. And then you put him in the Premier League, and he, like at the start of the season, you could clearly see that he wasn't up to the pace really, and he didn't have the fitness and his brilliant first touch, or he couldn't do what he wants to do. And if you watched him a lot, what he wants to do. You it's a little bit like Nigel was talking about Madison. His patterns, his moves, what he likes to do. And these last couple of weeks, I've seen him look like himself. Like he made runs and carried the ball and just been in rhythm in a way that I haven't seen before. And Gray, I mean, I don't know what to say about Gray at this point. Being 18 and playing and actually playing out of position, but at this point having BBC call him the defender Gray, because he looks so comfortable in that position that pundits and commentators act like this might be his position going forward. And being able to produce those kind of performances at this level in his first season in the Premier League is just amazing. And Odeberg, I mean, I'm an Odeberg, I'm almost a dick rider, but I'm going to say Glazer. I love him. To me, he's one of those players together with more that indicate what this team can be going forward. Because we have to be honest, there's two things in an Ant system that are absolutely crucial, and we know that now. It's athleticism. I said it, Billy. I pronounced it right. Athleticism and technicality, and I feel like we've got a lot of athletic guys, but we have this technical floor that we haven't really reached yet. But the moment Spence or Bergvall or Odeberg, who's the guy we're talking about now, when they come on the pitch and we see those first touches and the weight on passes, the correct weight on passes, and people going at players with confidence, that's when you kind of start to see, hints of what this Ange team can be. So I don't know. It's been it's been the saving grace of this season by far to me, seeing these young players flourish.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, Simon. Billy, who can hold their head high in that City game despite the result?
Bergvall, I thought was pretty decent. I thought Odegaard definitely showed flashes. I think it's a real shame that we didn't see Spence a bit more, because I think in terms of fullbacks capable of locking up Doku, he's probably one of the only ones in the Premier League. We just had to see the weekend with Trent Alexander-Arnold, really struggled against Doku, and then so did Porro. I don't think there's many fullbacks in the country that can lock him up at the moment, but Spence is probably one of them. I would have liked to have seen that a bit more. And I also thought, possibly up front for the goal, slightly, you could maybe nitpick. I thought Danto was generally pretty impressive again. So there are definitely some good things there, I think, for sure.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Before we move on to AZ Alkmaar, Billy, I'll stick with you. Let's talk change for Tottenham. Because it's obviously been a while with not much football. What are the plans going forward? Future protests and different plans.
Yeah, so obviously we're now in the wake of the first protest, which went pretty well. Certainly went as well as we hoped it goes. And again, thank you for the support that this show gave to that, and everyone gave to that. And now we were kind of playing in a bit of limbo, because obviously what happens in the Premier League is the fixtures get changed all the time on TV and stuff like that. And also we're trying to do things properly, and we have to arrange a protest like that took months of planning in advance. We have to get the police on board and things like that. But we're now in a position to announce our next one, which will definitely be the Southampton home game, which I believe, let me just make sure I get this definitely right, is in April. And it's on Sunday, the 6th of April at 2:00. So keep an eye on the protest plans for that. There will certainly be a big protest on that day. We're hoping to be bigger than the one before. But if you just keep an eye on the social channel of Change for Tottenham on Twitter, we're doing weekly spaces. We've got some big guests coming up tomorrow. We've got a guy called Mickey, who is all to do with like fan governance and things like that. We've had Paul O'Keefe recently. We're even hoping to maybe get some ex-players on in the future. In the coming weeks before the protest to really promote it. So yeah, but I can definitely announce that the next protest will be on the 6th of April. That is quite a big gap, and probably a bigger gap than we had intended. But I don't know if you see the fixtures. We're not playing any games in March, basically, because of the FA Cup and the international break. There's hardly any Tottenham games in March at all. So yeah, this is the one that we're aiming for. So thank you for your support for that.
No worries, thank you very much, Simon. I mean, Change for Tottenham have done a fantastic job, haven't they? I mean, you're applauding there, and that protest, I think, from being there and just generally how it went, it seemed like everything went to really well.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I love Billy. He knows that. But what I really like is that it's for something. It's not just against something, and it's something we all can get behind. I think we all want change for Tottenham. We want us to be more successful. We want more resources to go towards the team, and we want more communication with fans. We want to feel like the people in charge of the club care about the fans and care about the football and care about being a club that really stands for servicing the fans.
And we've been told in the next couple of days that the season ticket price is going to be announced. I think that'll be a key driver in fan sentiment, whether they will be on board. Obviously, personally speaking, I think it would be absolutely an insane decision to put the season ticket price up after what we've seen this season. I know West Ham just had a big win. Their fan groups have protested hard, and they got a ticket freeze. I know Liverpool got a ticket freeze. I think Man United have just gone up. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with Tottenham, what Tottenham do. We were told originally that they were going to put them up. Some rumours now saying they might freeze them and then put them up next year. So we'll watch the space on that. But it's certainly going to be announced in the next couple of days whether they do freeze or increase the season ticket prices. And that'll be a big thing that we look to use going forward.
Billy, can I send a thought to you and the people in charge of?
Please do. Always open.
No, I'm wondering. I mean, people that live in London or live in England or have an easier time to travel to the stadium to participate in the protest are part of the fan base. But I'd love to see if as international fans or people that aren't able to be physically present, if there's something one can put together where we can show solidarity with
Definitely.
the people at
Definitely,
place.
and we've been in contact with some people in America. Brian, for example, is heads up a lot of the stuff that in Canada. So definitely something. I know Brian is an expert on that kind of thing. So we'll definitely watch the space. There's definitely something we consider because we know that it's not just match going fans that want change. Fans across the world do. We've had fans from Canada, America, Australia reach out to us, Sweden. So watch this space. It's definitely something that we're going to do.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. Nige, what have you been, thinking of the work that Change for Tottenham have done recently behind them?
Absolutely, yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. I watched the protest on YouTube. Couldn't get to it, so I had my little girl. But yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. And one thing I'm hearing from a lot of people that went is that it's the first time in a long time that they actually felt connected to the club again, just by going on this protest. So yeah, and that's what we all want, isn't it? Is to feel connected again, to feel that connection to the club we love.
To be
So
honest,
yeah, I will be looking. I'll be checking my diaries. If I haven't got my little girl, I will be at the next one, 100%.
Amazing. And to be honest, that's exactly why Change for Tottenham started, is because we felt we lost that connection. That was the big driver behind it. And exactly, Nigel. People, all of us behind it, and all of us, the fans that attend that protest, feel like we've lost the connection to our club at the moment. It feels like, and it's drifting further and further apart all the time. So thank you very much. And it's not just people that attended the protest physically that were supporting it. So people watching online supported it in that way is huge as well. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, guys, and credit to yourself, Billy, and everyone involved in Change for Tottenham, because I think you've worked so hard, especially those as well. Behind the scenes, maybe we don't see as much. A lot's gone into it, as you said, months of planning, months of hard work to get there, and I think it was a massive success. Totally agree. It's brought people together, which is nice to see, and it's just been done properly, as you said earlier, Billy. You want to do things properly. I think that's what's been done. It's gone about it the right way, peaceful way, but still getting that message across. So it's honestly, I think it's been fantastic. But Jordan, how do you view the job that Change for Tottenham are doing?
Yeah, I didn't make it down to the protest, but it looked like it was successful. It looked like for me anyway, because I've seen what the protests have been like previously. It's been an absolute mess, and so this was the first time that it seemed like everyone had actually come together and united, and that there was a clear message, and there was a clear argument that I feel like everyone went down there with the right message. I think previously one of the biggest problems has been the discrepancies between what people want, and some people want just Levy out, some people just want new money, and it's just like all these different things going across. It didn't actually come across the right way, so I feel like it was very well organized. I think the group, I know obviously Billy, Christina, Last Word on Spurs, and the team that put it together, they done a lot of preparation for it, especially with the spaces and stuff like that. And so yeah, I felt like it was really well organized, and the next one I would expect there to be a much better turnout. But that's not taking away nothing from what the turnout was, because I thought the turnout was amazing.
That's what we're aiming for. Hopefully. And I think if ticket prices do go up, we're going to have a lot of support. So let's see what the club do.
And rightly so. Yeah, that'd be disgraceful, wouldn't it? Pay enough as it is, and then to no European football, assumingly, and the prices to go up. So yeah, you totally, I think, get a lot of traction from that. But we will move on to AZ Alkmaar. But once again, credit to all involved for Change for Tottenham. Let's talk AZ though. Simon, I'm going to kick it off with you. How are you feeling ahead of the game? It's upcoming now, Thursday night.
I'm extremely nervous. Like I might have put too much pressure on myself on the team for this game. I mean, the thing is, we have a real chance to win this cup. I do feel like we're probably one of the 2-3 favorites. I expect us to come pretty much fully healthy into that game. As I mentioned before, I would probably risk saving some of the players that are, freshly healthy. Players like Van der Ven, Romero, Solanke. I don't feel like we need to risk them if if they're borderline, especially Solanke. But yeah, I'm nervous and excited. I think we have a real shot, as I said. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Let's hope we can get the result. So thank you very much, Simon. Nige, are you feeling confident ahead of this one?
Um, I wouldn't say confident. You never quite know what Spurs are going to turn out, do you? But I'm
True.
excited. We've got a chance in this tournament, and if we play at our best, then who knows? So I'm excited for Thursday night, and it's good that it's 2 legs. So as long as we don't get absolutely stuffed, we're still in the second leg, and I don't think we will. Alkmaar have won 5 of the last 6 league games, though, so they are on form. It's going to be a tough game, but I think we might just get a draw over there and then do them at home. So yeah, I'm excited.
Harry, do you have the road to the final? Like,
Oh, I did have it. I don't know if I have it now.
It'll be
I can easily
Ajax or
find it.
Frankfurt next, and then
Yeah, then
Lazio or
potentially.
whoever they're playing their side of the draw.
Because I saw the path, and it's exactly
It's favourable,
Ajax
isn't it?
and Frankfurt are both not in great form. If we get through this, I'm not going to presume that we win, but we should have a good chance against AZ. But then Ajax and Frankfurt have been struggling lately. Lazio are not in, I think they're 5th or something like that. But they've been pretty inconsistent this season. And then it was Lazio or who? You had it right, Billy?
I think Olympiacos are on that side of the draw.
It will be Lazio, though. It was, I remember looking at it.
Should be.
So yeah, I think it's
so when we say we
route.
have a shot, it's not. It's. I don't feel like it's. Let's put it like this: we should at least get to the semifinal. Like just looking at the strength between us, the strength of the leagues, the strength of the squads, it would be hugely disappointing if we don't get to the semifinals. At least, I mean, it would be hugely disappointing if we don't win, obviously, but it would be pretty much a disaster, I feel like, if we don't get to the semifinals, at least.
It's pleasant that you're at Lazio have got. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll probably beat them.
Yeah, no, 100%. Thank you very much, Jordan. How are you feeling about this one as well? Do you feel the same as the guys that we got a favourable route to the final and we're in with a shot at least?
Definitely not favourable. I can't even. I don't think it's a favourable route whatsoever. I mean, you guys are all old enough, so you guys know the plenty of pure bad teams that Spurs have been knocked out of in Europa League across the last 15 years. Just to keep it short, like FC Basel, Dynamo Zagreb, they're just a few of the teams.
Genk knocked us out, didn't they?
Yeah, like I don't even think we've been to the quarterfinals once in Europa League in like last 20 years. So as much as I do have confidence that the teams ahead of us we can beat, the question's never whether the other teams are better than us. It's whether Spurs are actually going to turn up away from home, because this leg being the away from home leg, this is the one that gives me the most nerves, because I know a lot of people can see that we beat AZ Alkmaar early in the season. One thing they don't know is that was an AZ Alkmaar team that was weakened. They're missing, I think, 3 or 4 first-team players in that game, and that's why you see when you look at their fixtures and their results against Galatasaray was a polar opposite. They battered Galatasaray. I know we obviously had a weakened team out for them, but again, it's just to show that you can't underestimate how good these teams are, although they may not be the prettiest or biggest of names. So AZ Alkmaar, I mean, it's going to be a tough one. I expect the team to get through it, and I expect with the players.
But it could have been worse, though, couldn't it? That round of 16 draw for us.
I feel like either side isn't a pretty side. Like either side's pretty hard. The round of 16 could have been worse, but because we was either drawed against Sociedad or AZ Alkmaar, it's a toss up because both teams are fairly decent. My question's more with regards to when you say favorable fixtures, you look at the following teams. It could be a Frankfurt, which are likely to go through, and then outside of that, you're looking at potentially Lazio. And then in the final, if you do make it to the final, more than likely you could be playing Bilbao, who are at home in the final. So when you talk about favorable draw, I don't think anything's favorable about it. And if Spurs are going to go get done, it's going to be a very impressive win, to be fair. And I'll be surprised, very surprised.
Just to a counterpoint that I think you're right that it's a tournament, and tournaments, it's about who's best on the day basically, and league form and league strength, all that stuff kind of goes out the window. I do feel like looking at historical, performances, there's an extent that's relative, but I also feel like it's a lot of it is not relative, because I think a lot of context around each tournament is totally different. And I also would look a little bit, when I say favorable, I mean it's in the context of us playing basically 2 games a week in those weeks that we play, but with us not having to put as much focus on the league as we would have if we were 6th or 7th. So to me, the fact that we are a strong team with basically this tournament to put all our focus on, and also the fact that we play in a way that it's up to us. It's the difference between now and playing, Dinamo in the Jose team is that, or a Conte team, is the context. One, that it was mid-season and we were struggling already, not because we had injuries, because just the teams were bad. Whilst now we play in a way where it's basically we are the protagonists. It's about us playing our way. It's high intensity. We want to keep the ball. We want to dictate the game. And so if we are rested, healthy, and in pretty much in form, I think we, in that context, we have a favorable draw, as favorable as you can have, considering that it's a tournament. That would be my counter argument.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you very much, Simon. Billy, how do you feel about this one?
I don't think it's going to be a pushover by any stretch of the imagination. I know this weekend they lost to Heerenveen. I was keeping an eye actually on the other Europa League teams, and I think Frankfurt lost at the weekend quite heavily to Leverkusen, as was probably expected. But Frankfurt are third in the Bundesliga at the moment. So it's not, they obviously had a pretty decent season overall, but they have just sold their best player in Marmoush. And since they've sold him, I think their form has dropped off quite massively. So that's probably favourable. I think Alkmaar, I think it would be silly to sort of treat it as a game that we're definitely going to go out there and win. I think what will more likely happen is we'll draw away and win at home. And I think that's probably what we're going to have to do. I think after Alkmaar, our fixtures turn to home game first, which I don't think is particularly in our favour. I think when you're playing these two-legged European ties, you want that home leg second.
That's where Jordan maybe is right, I think. That hasn't gone our favour.
Yeah, I think I can see both sides. I think the team that I would want to avoid the most is probably Bilbao, because they've got the home advantage in the final, and they've obviously got Nico Williams as well. So I think it has been favourable to some extent. I think if you were told as a Tottenham fan that if you beat Alkmaar, Frankfurt and Lazio on the way to a final, I think any fan would take that. I think, at the beginning of the season, like, it's not, last season Atalanta and Leverkusen were in the final of the Europa League. It's not that strong a field this year compared to that. There's no doubt about it. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but if we can't progress in this field, I don't think we're ever going to do it, because I don't think we're ever really going to get an easier route to the final. I'm not saying it's easy, but comparatively, I mean, we're not playing an Atalanta or we're not playing a Leverkusen on the route, or sometimes you have like your Sevilla in there, or your Porto, or at least historically, or Inter have been in there a few times in the last few years.
Whilst also being able to only focus on that tournament.
Yeah, so I think it's now or never for us. If we don't do it and I think Jordan is right though in the fact that if you look at us historically, we are very, very poor away from home in Europe. I know some people that have been going literally all European away days and have seen like 3 wins in their lifetime. We have a really, really poor track record of winning in Europe away. So that's going to have to improve if we want to make that final. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. And I do think the big factor is the fact that, normally this time of the season, we're still going for top 4. We're still going for the top 6. This time the league is gone, so we can actually prioritize it for once. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But for me, this is definitely our biggest game of the season on Thursday.
And also, I think the context here is also, Van der Ven, Romero, Solanke have to come back healthy. That's like, I kind of assuming that if that doesn't happen, or if something else goes wrong, stuff changes, obviously. But I think up to the semifinals, I think we should expect us to do pretty well. And if we don't, I think that's a failure, basically, with these circumstances.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Before we get on to our lineups and score predictions, we've discussed whether we can win the Europa League or not. I want to discuss whether we will or not. So go around the panel for like short, snappy answers in terms of will we win the Europa League or not. It's up to you. You can answer kind of yes or no, or just say where we get, you think we get up to in the competition. So Billy, I'll kick it off with you. How far are we going to go in the Europa League?
Might as well go for it. We're going to win it. I just have to believe that, just because I've got nothing left at this point in my season. We've got absolutely nothing left, so I'm going to win it. What else is there to hope for at the moment?
Exactly that. But no, good start. Thank you, Billy. Simon, you're usually positive. Can we win it? Will we win it?
So I'm going to pull back. I think we're gonna go to the final. Then I definitely think it's a toss up. It totally depends on who we face. But yeah,
just
I think
saying we get to the final, but 50-50.
Then I think all the things that Jordan is talking about, Spursy and record, and I mean, I'm so scared of Spurs in the final. I can't even kind of imagine watching that game. I think I'm gonna, that's gonna be excruciating. But yeah, the final, and then I'm positive we can, but I won't say we definitely will.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nige. What do you reckon?
I think I've been way too positive this stream already. I don't think we're going to win it. I think we might get to the semis. I'm just filled with fear if we got to the final against Bilbao and we've got Williams against Porro. That terrifies me. So yeah, I think semis. If we get to the semis, I think that would be good. But at the same time, if we do get to the semis, we want to get to the final.
It's a running theme here, though, isn't there, about Bilbao and avoiding them and Williams. I think that's something to watch out for, maybe. Jordan, what do you reckon?
Do you know what? I've actually been on record across multiple shows all season. So whatever I say now probably don't matter because there's going to be a clip out there of me saying Spurs are going to win Europa League. Spurs are going to win a trophy because it's out there somewhere early in the season. I was saying it for many months.
Weren't we all?
But no, I'll be honest. At this point, I've lost faith in this team. I've lost faith in the manager. I've lost faith in just the setup at the moment. Again, I'm love to be proved wrong, but it's just those games in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup semi-final. Just for me, that's where I look at more than anything, the mentality of the players. I could just see us potentially going into one of these games. Let's just say if we have Frankfurt away, we lose 1-0, fine. It's not all bad, but we come to that home fixture. I can just see them not being in the right right frame of mind.
Respond again,
and, not responding. So that's where my worry is. Not necessarily this AZ Alkmaar fixture, but in one of these other fixtures, there's probably going to be a problem.
100%. Andrew says in the YouTube chat, if we don't get to the final, it's not going to be good.
I mean, it's worth to say that this is a really young team. So I do think Jordan has a point. Like, there is stuff for this team mentally still to be learned. And while I'm positive and probably much more supportive of the coach and the system and have more belief in all that, and I mean, generally have a positive outlook, I do feel like, and I have put on record that it will be a disappointment if we don't win or get to the final. I do feel like I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like a game where we don't show up or, it gets complicated in that way.
Yeah, of course, it depends on who we get along the way.
Yeah,
things can change, injury situations can change. I mean, at Spurs, there is no normal day or week, is there? So much is ever changing. International duty players could get injured. I think it's you shouldn't look at it this way, and it shouldn't be a given that we get past AZ Alkmaar for a start. That's the first thing that I will say, but I think we will. And get through to the semi-finals. But from there, I think it's really open. And I'm totally with the likes of Jordan, where I do worry about us not responding and not showing the right attitude, that right mentality. And it's those away games, as Billy in particular highlights, that is a real worry that does concern me. So I don't know whether we can win it or not, because I still think there's, Billy mentioned it as well earlier, there is that depth in this competition at this stage where maybe there hasn't been quite as much in previous years, previous seasons. I think a lot of it's to do with the new format. So I'd say get to the semi-final. It's hard to call from there.
Can I ask a question just to you, Harry?
Yeah.
Do we have the best team in the tournament that's still in like
Oh,
forget form, forget but just looking at the
well,
squad.
injuries again. It plays a big part. I think that there has to be pressure on
That's the
us to do
question,
well.
Harry. I mean, don't be a politician here now. Do we have
Trying to divert round. Fair enough. Up there, we have up there with the best. I don't know whether it's the best or not, Simon. I'm not gonna, like the answer, but there should be pressure on us to do well. We should have pressure on us to get to the final. If you looked at it at the start of the year, it would have been Tottenham, Man United. United, we know their circumstances this year, so it would be a failure if we don't at least get to that final, I think. But do you think we have the best team?
The best team in this tournament.
Yeah, that's what
I feel like that would just be very disingenuous of us to say, because I feel like as Spurs fans, we're going to be biased and say, yeah, we got the best team. But if you actually look around at some of these European
No, I'm asking. It's a sincere.
No, I know, but I just mean, like, as Spurs fans in general, we are more inclined to be biased about our club. But that's because there's a lot of disrespect towards a lot of these European sides. But like Frankfurt, a Lazio in particular,
and ignorance,
really strong team.
Yeah.
And a lot of people write them off, but even if you look at their full 11, a lot of their names are just be like, "Oh, he's not better than he's not."
How would you rank it? Like, if just instinct,
I'd say Spurs are probably their top 3 teams. Top 3, I think Bilbao
that's strong
as well.
Bilbao,
I think Bilbao and Lazio.
Frankfurt third in the Bundesliga at the moment. They're probably.
It's not given we win it, but we still, be one of the favourites to get to that final. So it's a good question, Simon.
Ajax are 5 points clear of the Eredivisie at the moment. They've first time they've been top of the league in a few years. It's a lot to happen. I think there'll be a lot of shocks to come. I think from all kinds of places.
What's this space indeed? But lineups, and again, as I always say, it's difficult not having that Postecoglou press conference at the time of recording, so we don't know. We're hearing the possibility about Romero, but Nige, if you're in Ange Postecoglou's position, in his shoes, if you like, what would be your team?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would, Vicario in goal. I'd probably play Spence left back, and I've been dissing Porro the whole night, and now I'm saying Porro right back. Just because he doesn't tend to play Spence at right back, so I just think he'll probably play him left back if he plays. And I think it'd be Danzo and maybe Romero, and then I think it'd be Bentancur, Bergvall, and Madison with Kulu, Son, and Tau.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Simon. What would be your team if you're Postecoglou that you'd pick?
Vicario, Spence, Romero, Danso, Udogi, Madison, Bentancur, Bergvall, Son, Tel, Kulusevski.
Nice, thank you, Billy. What do you reckon?
I would go similar, but I would love to see Solanke start right over Tel if possible. I don't know how fit he's going to be, but that'd be a big one for me because I think I miss him so much at the moment. I think we Tottenham miss him badly. And I'm not criticizing Tel. I think it's a young player who will be fine in the long run, but I really miss Solanke's press hit up the front. And in our biggest game of the season, I would like him to be starting. So I'm going to say similar to Simon, but I have to have Solanke playing. And the big call for me is Spence has got to be starting this game, because if you're going to rest him for the Man City game or you're going to drop him, the differentiation there is he going to put Porro and Udogi in our biggest game of the season? I would hope not. I would hope Spence will be in there somewhere.
Type of stuff that, Ange gets paid for, and his money here, these tough decisions in terms of players. Do you take the risk? Do you not? What teams you go with? Changes in game management. All of these will come into fruition and really be under testimony in the next few games, because they're massive, as Billy says, probably the biggest of our season to date. I think on Thursday. Jordan, what are you thinking in terms of the lineup?
Yeah, man. Like Billy said, biggest game of the season. I'm seeing the rivals. They're lurking in the comments. Halftime hooks, fams on TV. Shout out to them. But why are the rivals here watching the Tottenham conversation? I'm very confused. But I think that we should go with the same line at what Simon said, to be honest. I think Solanke shouldn't start this one. Like I said, maybe chuck him in at about 60 minutes, give him a little run out, just sort of to get fresh legs. But we should be able to get through this tie because our team is good enough, but it's all about the mentality. So we get through the first game, and then when we take it home, let's see what happens.
Would you start Davis if, let's say, Romero can't play? Would you play Gray or Davis with Danso?
I would go.
Open question.
I was gonna say chuck Romero in there because if Romero's getting a call up, then clearly he's fit enough to play. So I'm saying chuck him in with Danso and see what.
But if he's not,
it's got to be Davies. It's got to be Davies for me.
Oh, great experience. That's a good question. We'll have to see what team it is Thursday, and let's hope we turn up. A score prediction, Nige, start us off.
I'm going to go for a very nervy 1-1.
Oh, nervy 1-1. Yeah, I think I'd take that away from home. Thank you. Jordan.
I'm gonna take a 2-1. I think it's gonna be close, but we'll get just enough to get the job done.
You're going to take a win into that second leg. That'd be lovely. Thank you, Simon.
You're always fucked when you don't get to start on this. They took my 2 results.
Sorry, I do usually start with you. To be fair.
No. You start with me sometimes. I'm just saying. I'm just observing. I'd say 3-1. I don't see us not conceding anything, but I'm still gonna go positive. 3-1. So now Bill has to say that we lose.
Nice.
Yeah, I was gonna go 2-1 like Jordan as well. I'll go just to be different. I'll go 1-0 Tottenham.
Lovely. Thank you very much. I think we've finished in good time because a lot of us have to jump now as well. So I think we've done that nicely to wrap up for this week's episode. So thank you to everyone who listened, whether it be live on YouTube or after on a podcast platform. I always find it interesting when I hear from people while watching the show, either during or after, different places they listen to and from around the world, different times. Find it really interesting. 4 a.m. We've got 8 p.m. there. Really interesting stuff. So thank you to everyone for listening and for getting involved if you did listen via YouTube. But please do as well check out our sponsor in the Kitman. Let's go through the panel and discuss where you can find them across various social media platforms. Billy, where can they find you and your work that you do, your hard work for Change for Tottenham?
Yeah, just Change for Spurs on Twitter. There's lots of people involved in that. It's not just me by any means. I just sort of help out where I can, and then just Billie T on Twitter. And I look forward to coming on the show again soon, and hopefully coming on in the midst of a deep Europa League run. Let's hope.
Let's hope so, Billy. You're always welcome. Thank you very much, Simon. Welcome. Back on today. Where can people find you on social media? You're on mute. Classic.
Amateur mistake. I'm so sorry for it.
You're fine.
Oh, that was embarrassing. Okay. If you see the screen, you see a name on there. If you put it into any social media apparatus, you will find me. I'm usually on Twitter. You can, if you have a hard time finding me, you can go to Billy's posts and look in the comment section. I'm often there, being a contrarian or adding on, doing a tag on one of his brilliant jokes. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. Jordan, or as I said, it is great to have you back on. It has been a little while, but really appreciate you giving us your time this evening. Where can people find you across the socials? Because I know content creator, you produce a lot of good work, good content.
No, thank you, man. Yeah, you see me around pretty much on loads of different channels, but to find me and my channel in particular, YouTube, Durag Diaries. That's pretty much where I have my little humble abode where I speak football, speak about Tottenham, and just touch base. And then if you want to catch me on Twitter at _4George, yeah, that's pretty much it. Just catch me on either of those platforms.
Do you always have a durag on you when you post material?
Yeah, majority of the time. When we win, that's when the durag comes out. That's when I'm nice. Feeling myself.
Have you had a durag on today? I can't see.
No, I got fresh trim, so so it's
Oh my
been
God.
feeling a bit. It's feeling a bit. Yeah, it's looking all right. But the
You got
do-rag's
really
usually
black
Yeah,
now. I'm
looking good.
sorry, Harry. I'm sorry, Harry. This is the prestigious podcast. You don't want to.
No,
Sorry,
you're
Warren.
right. Thank you. Nige, thanks as well for coming on. Always great to have you. We'll need to get you on more for sure. Where can people find you? Because you have your own podcast now, don't you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube on Pure Coys. I'm chasing down 600, so yeah, any subs would be much appreciated. And yeah, lots of new shows coming up. Beyond the Lane tomorrow night at 7:30 as well. So yeah, anyone who's
Nice.
about, come along.
Absolutely. Make sure you do, guys. Thank you very much. A massive comment, you Spurs. Hopefully next time you'll be hearing from me, which is obviously never a good thing, but hopefully it'll be after a Spurs win against AZ Alkmaar and hopefully a win as well at the weekend against Bournemouth. Up the Spurs.